He's a founder and manager partner of the law firm Feinberg. He's a renowned expert in arbitration matters and was recently named the independent administrator of a $20 billion fund to compensate victims of the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. He is currently setting up an independent claims facility to process business and individual claims against BP. Mr. Feinberg's experience includes managing the September 11th Victims Fund, the Virginia Tech Victim Funds, and serving as Chief of Staff to the late Senator Ted Kennedy. Thank you, Mr. Feinberg, and welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. You're absolutely right. This is the first opportunity I've had to meet here in Congress, either House or the Senate, to discuss the plans for the design, implementation, and administration of this Gulf Coast claims facility. It's very, very difficult to say no to the chairwoman who was so helpful to me during the administration of the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund, which impacted her district tremendously. And this is one opportunity for me to thank the chairwoman publicly for all she did in helping me with the administration of that program. I am accompanied today by the Deputy Administrator of the Fund, Camille Byros, who is also here if there are particular questions where I need to consult with her. But let me say that if I do nothing else in the next few minutes, I want to clarify and emphasize certain points about this Gulf Coast claims facility. First, by agreement between the administration and BP, this is an entirely independent facility. It is not beholden to the administration. It is not beholden to BP. By agreement, they decided, let's establish and fund a truly credible, independent facility that will process eligible claims and pay them promptly. Second, understand, please, that I am not the administrator of the $20 billion escrow fund. I am the administrator of the Gulf Coast Claims Facility, which will draw on part of that $20 billion fund. That $20 billion fund may also be used for government claims against BP, for cleanup costs brought by states, local governments, federal government. Those costs come out of the $20 billion escrow, but it's not part of my obligation or mandate. So please make the distinction between my responsibility in processing private claims of all types arising out of that $20 billion and other claims that might be brought by government against BP, part of that $20 billion, that are not on my watch. This is a purely private facility. It is not a facility of the federal government or a sub-facility of an agency. It is a private compact creating this independent facility which I will design and administer. Next, in addition to the $20 billion, the administration and BP agreed to set aside $100 million for so-called moratorium claims involving laid-off rig workers who may be out of work because of the imposed moratorium on other drilling in the Gulf. That $100 million is not part of the $20 billion. It is an addition. Whether or not I will administer that $100 million moratorium fund is up to the administration and BP. I don't think that's been finally resolved yet. It may be that the $100 million moratorium limited to moratorium rig worker claims, not small business moratorium claims, wage loss, whether that fund will be a separate segregated account in the facility or whether it will be parked and administered somewhere else, it remains to be seen. Whether those rig workers subject to the moratorium will file claims with me or file claims with some other administrator implementing the $100 million distribution, it remains to be seen. That is not on my watch. It has to be resolved between the administration and particularly BP. And I think BP is going to have to decide in the next few days whether that $100 million should be part of the facility, separate from the $20 billion, but administered by me, or whether it should be administered by somebody else. So I want to make that clear, because there's been some confusion generated by some of my earlier comments and others, because I'm trying to figure out myself exactly how that $100 million for moratorium workers will be designed and administered. Next, I welcome and urge all eligible claimants to file a claim with this facility that has been established under my direction. I want to emphasize that those claimants include, as the chairwoman and Congressman Graves pointed out, not just individuals, small businesses, large businesses, anybody, any private individual or company who feels that they have a valid claim to draw out of this facility should file a claim. There is no obligation to filing a claim with this facility. You do not give up any rights. You do not have to make any decisions at this time. You are seeking emergency financial assistance, which this facility is recognizing. And only later, if you decide to remain in the facility and seek a lump sum settlement down the road, would you then have to decide whether to surrender your rights to sue in return for a lump sum payment. But that's down the road. Right now, if you file a claim, we will give you a number, we will process your emergency application, and if you are eligible, we will pay you promptly, within a matter of days. So I would urge everybody in the Gulf who believes they may have a claim to file a claim, because there is no obligation in so doing. Now, to date, even before this facility was established, BP set up on its own a claims process that has so far, as the chairwoman pointed out, paid about $130 million to claimants. It's not as if, unlike the 9/11 Fund or Virginia Tech or Agent Orange when I got involved, it's not as if I'm building from scratch. There is a program in place that is, as we speak, accepting, processing, and paying claims. Now, unfortunately, that program could work better. It is not sufficiently efficient. It is not paying all that many small business claims. It needs to pay more small business claims and large business claims. It is not sufficiently transparent. I'm getting a lot of objection from state and local governments that they're having trouble processing how they're monitoring how BP is doing in accepting claims, considering them, and then approving or disapproving claims. So I think one task I've got to do quickly is develop a much more transparent sunlight so that Congress, as part of its oversight function, as well as local governments, Governor Jindal's been very strong on this point. We've got to do a much better job, as has Homeland Security been very strong on this point. We've got to do a much better job as this facility begins to make sure that the data that can demonstrate the efficiency and success of the facility or its shortcomings is made available to this committee and other similar committees. And that is one objective that I will undertake. Finally, as a summary point, it is very important that I provide appropriate compensation to all eligible claimants. Every claimant is not eligible. There are going to be two important prerequisites to securing compensation under this facility. One, is the claim eligible? Is it appropriate to even file a claim? How will I decide that? Well, Congress gave me some guidance that I think may prove very, very valuable when it enacted the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund back in 2001. Congress said in that legislation, in deciding whether a claim, a 9/11 claim, is appropriate, valid, legitimate, look to the law of the state of the victim. Look to, in this case, perhaps, this facility will say, let's look at the law of Louisiana, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, maritime law under OPA, the Pollution Control Act. Maybe the way to decide eligibility is to say to a claimant, look, you can file a claim with me, and I will process that claim. If your claim is legally sufficient under your own state law, I'll recognize it. If not, I won't. Or maybe I have to exercise some discretion in that regard. But there has to be some way to cabinize and define what is an eligible claim and what is not an eligible claim. There's not enough money in the world to pay everybody who would like some money. You've got to decide in a principled way, as we have in all of these other claims facilities like 9/11. These claims are eligible. These claims under your own law are not eligible, and work out some definition in that regard. Secondly, even if you have an eligible claim, corroborate it. You have to corroborate your claim. You can't come in and say, I'm out of work, I'm losing $5,000 a month, pay me. Well, show me that you're out of work. Show me something that corroborates the amount that you seek in order to justify a prompt emergency payment. So I want to emphasize that this fund, established just less than 2 weeks ago, I am determined, as I have in the past, bipartisan, apolitical, I am determined to pay every eligible claim, pay it as promptly as I can, get the money out. Governor Barber of Mississippi last week, when I met with him, gave me some very valuable advice. He said, Ken, I just want you to know, time is the enemy. Time is the enemy. You've got to get this money out the door. I learned that 25 years ago in the Agent Orange Vietnam veterans case when Judge Jack Weinstein, federal judge who had that case, said, Ken, when it comes to the Vietnam veterans, get these settlement monies out to them ASAP. And that's what I'll try and do. My final point, this program cannot be administered by me from Washington. The only way this program works, you have to go down to the Gulf and meet the people down there, hear what they say, hear their concerns, why they're worried about their financial future, why they're angry, why they're dispirited, why they're frustrated. I have, from the moment I was given this assignment, I have constantly been down in the Gulf, in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, tomorrow back to Alabama, and to see Governor Christ in Florida. And I will continue to go back there every week because unless you're down there listening in town hall meetings to what all of your constituents are saying about the problems, you can't really get a feel for the need for this facility to work and to work effectively. So that is sort of a very brief summary, but I anticipate a fair number of questions, and that's why I'm here. And Madam Chairwoman and Congressman Graves, I thank you both for the opportunity to be here. I'm honored to be here today.